Hello there guys and welcome to video number 5 in our series VB.NET for an absolute beginner. Okay, so we've looked at a couple of things in our first 4 videos and we started building our calculator. So today we're going to finish that calculator off. We're going to place a couple of controls on our form. We've already looked at how we can anchor those controls on a form. So we're going to take everything we've learned and build our calculator today. See you after this. Okay guys, so what we're going to do is we're going to do the layout of the calculator. We're going to take a couple of controls, a couple of buttons and stick them on there. It's going to be just a very logical layout. But once I'm done, I am going to show you exactly what every control is named and where they're placed and their function. And then we're going to start working on the code behind so that you can follow from there. See you now. Okay, so what I've done so far is I have allocated a bunch of buttons for the numbers. I've allocated a bunch of buttons for our mathematical calculations, equal and a cancellation button. I've also named them accordingly. So this is my result text box. This is my label capture. So as we type the values in, they'll go on the capture value. So we can see how it works while we type it in. This is a BTN button clear, BTN plus, minus, multiply, divide, equal, button 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So all of the buttons are named BTN so that we know that they're buttons. The label is named LBL. Excuse me, I've got hay fever. And the text box is called is TXT. I'm going to change one more property on the text box, and that will be read only as true. There we go. Now you can't change that value on there. Oops, clicked too many times. Okay guys, now that we have completed our layout, I would like to create a couple of parameters that we can use for our calculator. These parameters are going to help us remember a couple of values. Okay, so we can either double click on the form to go to the code behind, or we can click anywhere on our design surface and click on view code, and this will give us the class behind, the code behind, and it automatically generates a my base load event. There's the load event for our current form. So I'm just going to remove that because we don't really need that. Give it a couple of spaces, and even though we don't have a subroutine or a function, we can still declare parameters. And all we need to do, instead of saying dim is we're going to go public or private, depending on what scope you want on your parameter. So public current value as a decimal. Okay, here's a comment. This value is going to hold the value as we type it. So holds the typed value. The second parameter that I would like to add is a value that is going to hold the result. Holds the result. So what we've done is we've created two parameters with a decimal as a data type. So the next step, or just hang on, let me just zoom this a bit to 150. There we go. You can probably see a bit better now. Okay, so the next step I want to do is go to the calculator, and I want to work on the cancellation button first. So I'm going to double click on the cancellation button. And you can see that it creates what is called an event, and this event is handled when the button clear is clicked. And in this event, I am going to create a method that is going to clear all the values. So let's put a comment there. Clears all the values. Okay, now because we've used logical naming, it'll be very easy for me to guess what the names are of the controls that we've put on our form. I can remember we had a txt result. Now I'm going to go and change the text value. We also had a LBL label capture dot text, and I'm also going to reset that to nothing. I'm also going to change our current parameters to zeros. So I'm going to go current value equals 0.0 and result equals 0.0. Okay, this means that every time I click the button, it is going to change the text in both of our result and capture values to nothing. It's also then going to change the current value and the reset value to zeros. So what I want to do is I want to create a little sub that will do the calculation for us. I'm going to go private sub write text to label, and I'm going to pass a value as a string into this subroutine. So basically this subroutine is just going to write the text to our label. Our label is this guy here. He is known as label capture, and label capture is going to be updated with the values as we type. The reason for that is because if I had a value number 1 and I add another value 1, we don't want it to add up to go to 2. We want it, every time we click a value, it shows 1 and 1 and 1. And the only way we can do that comfortably would be to say it's in a text or string value, because strings cannot be added together. So I'm going to double click on this button number 1. Okay, here's my click event, button 1 click event, and here is my write text text to label value. I'm going to put a comment here, write the text, update the label. Update the label as there. Okay. Both of them means the same thing, doesn't it? Okay, so in this case, I am going to use the button 1 click event. Whenever you click this event, it's going to update the current values, and we're going to write the text to the label. I've made a spelling mistake there. Okay, and we're going to pass the value 1. Okay, that means that value 1 is going to come in here. It'll then need to write the text. So if I just said lbl capture.text equals the value, then every time we push the button 1, it's just going to rewrite the value. It's going to set the value back to 1 over and over and over. Let's have a look how that works. 1, 1, 1, 1. So it's never going to actually add another value to that. We can, however, change, just very easily put a plus in front of the value. And now 1, 1, 1. It didn't take the 0 away, but it did say 1, 1, 1 every time we click the 1. Okay, so that means we need to make sure that that value is, that label is actually blank. Okay, so now that we've done this with button 1, most people would be inclined to go and do the same thing for button 2 and button 3 and button 4 and button 5. But that's not really what we need to do, because all we need to do is work a little bit smarter. I'm going to change the handle event, and instead of just button 1 click, I'm going to add btn 2. Where's button 2 dot click? And what I'm doing here now is I am assigning these events, so the button 2 click, button 3 click, all of the buttons when they click are going to fire this specific subroutine. So that means this subroutine, this is just the name of the subroutine, it doesn't do anything. It is this handles the button 1 click event. It handles button 2 clicks event, button 2's click event. btn 3 button 3 dot click. Button 4 dot click. Button 5 dot click. Button 6 dot click. Button 7 dot click. btn 8 dot click. Did I miss a comma? Yes, I did. Comma button underscore 9. Did I have a button 9? I'm sure we have a button 9. This is button 10. How silly is that? Button 9. There we go. Update that one. btn 9 dot click. Okay, so these are now button 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and we're also going to do button 0 dot click. Okay, so that means that all of the buttons, when they are clicked, they fire this specific event, and this event would be the write text to label. And instead of 1, if you clicked on button 4, you don't want to pass the value of 1. So how are we going to get the value? Well, luckily the buttons are named. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at another way of actually finding the value from the button. Now, as you can see, this sub, when we clicked on the button and it created this the sub for us, it added two values. It added a sender as an object and E as event arguments. That means the sender as an object, that is the button. Which button did you click? So all we need to do is take that object and convert it back into a button, and then we'll find the value for it. So I'm going to go in direct cast the sender to a button, and then I'm going to click after the bracket and get the text value from there. Excuse me. So in this case, every time you click a button, any of these buttons, it's then going to convert whichever button sent the information into a button, and we're going to get the text value past that to our write text to label subroutine, which is then going to update the value. Let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 9. Not bad. Now that we have a sub that will update our values for us, we now need to go and capture our value type. So if we want to add or minus or multiply or divide, we want to capture these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into this. I've actually forgot to put here the type public type as string. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing for all of these. So I'm just going to click on one of them, and I'm going to update the type equals direct cast the sender to button update the type of calculation. Okay, so after we have updated the type of the calculation, we now need to move our value from our capture value. So from our capture value, we would like to move it into our result value. I'm forgetting my own control names there. Okay, so update the result value with the capture value. Okay, and the reason is because once you've selected multiply, divide, or whatever the case may be, then the value needs to be moved so we can capture the next value. Okay, so in this case we're going to go txt result.text with equals to the LBL capture.text. Are we going to put the type in there as well? Yeah, why not? I'm going to put also the type and type. Okay, so let us see what happens now. 1, 2, 3 minus nothing. Oh, it's because I only put the plus click. btn minus dot click btn multiply dot click and btn divide dot click. Okay, plus minus multiply divide. Let's give it another go. 5 6 minus. Okay, so the minus type, then we have to remove the value here. Update that, and LBL dot capture dot text equals nothing. Okay. Here we go. Let's see if we can do a little bit. 1 2 3 plus 5 4 7. There we go. So now you can see how we're going to add these numbers together. Okay, now let's work with the equal. Okay, so the equal button has got a couple of functions it needs to do. It needs to, number one, take the two values, pass them to our calculator processor that we created in the previous video. It will then do the calculation. It will then come back and update the values. Alright, so let's do the first one, and it's collect the values. And then we're going to pass the values to the function, and then we're going to update the results. Okay, so collect the values. We have the new value, I suppose we can call it, the new value as a decimal equals, I'm going to convert our first value to a decimal, and that'll be LBL capture.text. That was the new value that was typed in. The current value, that was the value that was in before, as decimal equals, converted to a decimal, and that'll be the current value. We also need to go make sure that our processor calculator knows what function to do. So by vol, the type as a string. We also want to make sure that it brings back a decimal. So why am I always working with decimals and not integers? Well, it's because a decimal is a full number. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It can't be 1.5 or 1.526 or something like that. Now, if you didn't put it as a decimal from the start, what would happen is that it would round all your values up or down. So if you took 3 divided by 2, your answer would be 2. It won't be 1.5. So, to make sure that we get 1.5, we go decimal. Okay. So we're going to change this function to calculate, and I'm going to remove this section of the code. Excuse me. Got a lot of hay fever this weekend. Okay, so let's go to our calculator. We have this. Now we need to pass the values for the calculation. So this will be the calculator processor. Calculator calculator. I can't spell. Calculator processor dot calculates. Okay, it's going to ask us for 3 values. Okay, the first value is value 1, which would be our current value. The second value, it's going to ask for the new value that we just typed in. And then the type is going to be the type. The result as a decimal equals. Okay, and that's how we capture the value that comes back as a result. Or, we've already got a result there, don't we? We just say result. Okay, this result is obviously that one there and that one there. So the result as a decimal that we've created as a holding space there. Okay, it'll then update that with the value that comes back from here. Now, even though we've captured our result, and that'll be our result up here, what we need to do is we would need to, number one, create, clear the current value, clear the type, and update some of the values. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to update our txt result.text equals result. Now we can leave it there for now. It's not completed because there's still values lying around. We have to tidy it up, but we can go and give it a quick test. 98 minus 6, 0. Fantastic. Okay, so let's have a look at why this is not working. It's actually very good practice because, as I said before, you cannot go wrong with actually typing the stuff yourself, because when you run into problems, you're going to have to re-look at the code, you're going to have to re-look at what you've typed, what the values are, and this is a perfect example. You don't always write the perfect code the first time. So let's have a look at why this is not working. It seems to be that when we click the plus button, we are not actually updating the current value. Okay, so I'm going to put in the current value equals C decimal, and it'll be LBL capture dot text. Okay, so we convert the label capture text into a decimal and update the current value. This also seems to be a problem because we are resetting the value, the current value, to nothing. So let's take that out. Let's give it a run and see what happens now. So 9 minus 3 equals 6. There we go. Okay, we still need to remove the value after that. So the txt result, like I said, it's not finished. We need to remove the value from our capture. LBL capture dot text equals nothing, and then we're also going to update the result equals txt result dot text, and that result is a C decimal. Okay, let's have a quick look. 6 minus 3 equals 3. Clear. 8 plus 2 equals 10. Clear. 2 times 6 equals 12. 10 divided by 2 equals 5. Okay, so we can see that all of them work, and we have a basic calculator. Alright, let's try and do a quick big summary. I'm hoping this works. 1 plus 2 plus 3 equals. No, it didn't work. Okay, the reason why that didn't work is because we have to keep on updating the result and the current value. The result would have been calculated after the plus or minus or any other type has been clicked. We could have updated that, but in this video, that's all for now. We've created a very simple calculator. We have updated our calculating function. We've passed in the decimals and another decimal, and we've passed in the type of calculation to do. We then checked the case or what type it is, and it made its own decision to say, well, hey, it's a plus, a minus, multiply, or divide. We've tested all of those. It brought back the correct values. We had a clear button that cleared all of our values for us. We had the writing to the value. We learned how to use functions. We learned how to cast from the sender, so the control actually sending the information to our subroutine. We converted it back into a button so we can get the text value from there. We've also looked at the multiply, minus, divide, and plus buttons, and the equal button that updates the values. Okay, so that means that we've used everything that we have discussed. We've used subs, we've used functions, we've used properties, we've passed values, for example, a value to a property. We have also created something new today, which is a parameter outside of a sub or a function, and these we just put public or private. Now, because the scope only dictates for it to be used within our class, all of them could actually be private. And they will still work. Let me see, what else did we do? We've updated the calculator, and last but not least, we have did a bit of a design on our form. Okay, so that's basically it. We are getting very close to our next section, which will be learning a little bit more in depth about data types, how to do multi-level. We're going to go into object-oriented programming, which Visual Basic is all about. So there's going to be another series after this that we're going to do, working with a bunch of text. We're going to work with different controls, so we can have a feel about these controls. At the moment, all I did was just put a bunch of buttons on there and change the font types. But in the next video series, we're going to look at maybe creating a notepad or an advanced notepad, so we can do cut, copy, paste, work with strings a little bit more, because that's one of the most common things that we work with is strings. We're going to learn how to select string values within a text field, how to search values within our text fields, and all of those nice things. So in the next series, I think we're going to build a text editor or a text document or a notepad, basically. If you find any of the values or any of the values if you find any of this information helpful, then please like and subscribe. Also click that notification bell, and you'll be notified about our new videos that's coming out. If you haven't already noticed, I'm also going to do a live stream. So if you look at the live videos in my channel, you'll find out when we're doing live streams for particular things. Our first live stream is going to go out, and that'll be designing WPF controls and working with Visual Basic and doing animation, dashboard controls with animation that we're going to design from scratch. They're going to be user controls, so which means that we can reuse them wherever we need, and because they are going to be designed in WPF, they will already be working in the Windows Universal Platform. Yes, that's right. Windows Universal Platform is the next level of where Windows wants us to develop in, and that's why everything is moving towards that direction. So Windows 10 development was always part done by WPF. You could create Windows Store applications in WPF in the past, but now it's going to be taken over by all of the Windows operating systems. So you're going to be able to work on Windows Phone, Windows tablets, Xbox, and PC, all of them with WPF. So it's a very, very good area to go into. So if you want to stay tuned with those, look at our live feeds and you'll be updated there. Have a good evening, and I'll see you in the next videos. Cheers.